There is a highly concentrated chemical liquid sitting in the additive aisle. It costs exactly $3. It completely stops any slipping automatic transmission permanently. It violently eliminates the terrifying shudder when you shift gears. It restores the raw grip your mechanic said was lost forever. Mechanics violently charge $2,800 to rebuild your transmission. They are lying strictly to extract your hard-earned wealth. You do not need a brand new valve body. You do not need expensive new wholesale clutch packs. You do not need 12 hours of agonizing shop labor. No massive mechanical teardowns. No scamming diagnostic fees. No leaving your vehicle at the dealership for 3 weeks. This $3 liquid does the exact same job chemically. It works instantly within 50 miles of aggressive highway driving. It is the cheapest and most aggressive transmission fix in history. And the corporate automotive cartel prayed you would never find it. Look closely at the modern multi-billion-dollar dealership repair industry. They built a massive financial empire entirely on your transmission failure. They explicitly engineered modern gearboxes to fail predictably. The mathematical business model is shockingly and violently malicious. They know exactly when the internal rubber seals will chemically fail. It always happens right after your factory powertrain warranty violently expires, usually right around the 70,000-mile marker. Your vehicle violently shudders under light acceleration. The transmission terrifyingly hesitates before slamming violently into third gear. They engineered this exact psychological panic to trap you entirely. You limp into the shiny service bay, terrified of catastrophic failure. A service advisor in a pristine polo shirt greets you aggressively. They print a terrifying diagnostic sheet, full of complex engineering terms. They quote you $2,800 for a complete rebuild. They charge you $150 just for the basic inspection. They claim your expensive internal clutch plates are physically destroyed. They say the transmission is completely and utterly beyond saving. They look you straight in the eyes and violently lie. They are aggressively exploiting your lack of fluid chemistry knowledge. They treat a simple chemical imbalance like a permanent mechanical death sentence. The profit margins on transmission rebuilds massively exceed 300%. They buy the replacement rubber seals for $40 wholesale. They invoice you thousands of dollars in phantom manual labor. This entire transaction is a heavily orchestrated theatrical performance. They are aggressively harvesting your bank account. They strictly rely on your absolute obedience to the system. But this exact transmission problem was actually solved 80 years ago. The year was 1944. Allied military forces were running heavy tanks across the European theater. These massive armored machines were pushing through thick, freezing mud. They operated under extreme, unrelenting thermal stress during heavy combat. The heavy-duty automatic transmissions were violently slipping and burning up. The internal heat chemically baked the hydraulic seals into brittle plastic. The tanks starved for kinetic power and died on the battlefield. You cannot tow a 30-ton Sherman tank to a local mechanic. You cannot wait 3 weeks for a massive transmission overhaul. Military engineers needed a violent chemical solution immediately. They needed a liquid that could aggressively restore hydraulic pressure instantly. They brought in top chemical engineers from the aerospace sector. They developed a highly concentrated ester-based fluid modifier. This raw chemical liquid was an absolute battlefield miracle. Mechanics poured exactly 4 ounces of this liquid into the hot transmission. The chemical traveled rapidly through the extreme heat of the gearbox. It violently penetrated the hardened rubber seals deep inside the valve body. Within 10 minutes of operation, the internal pressure normalized permanently. The heavy tanks regained full aggressive traction instantly. This exact chemical technology successfully transitioned into the civilian automotive market. In 1956, a slipping transmission was strictly a $3 maintenance routine. Then the massive corporate automotive industry caught on to the science. By 1972, big auto executives saw a massive financial threat. If consumers knew about the $3 military chemical, dealerships would starve. They could never aggressively sell a $2,000 mechanical rebuild again. So they quietly deleted this chemical protocol from the factory service manuals. They aggressively labeled any highly concentrated ester fluid as dangerous snake oil. They actively buried the exact science that won a global war. They violently replaced a permanent chemical cure with a mechanical trap. They sacrificed your financial stability for their massive corporate profit. We are building a massive, off-grid mechanical survival movement right here. This channel is a direct threat to the corporate automotive cartel. We are exposing their most profitable lies one by one. I do not sell any expensive automotive replacement parts. I do not have a corrupt, multi-million-dollar dealership sponsor. My only goal is to completely dismantle their massive extraction machine. Do not click away from this video under any circumstances. In the next few weeks, I am exposing the greedy appliance industry. I will reveal the $4 acid that fixes any dead water heater. I will expose the $2 trick that resets your locked washing machine. Hit the subscribe button right now. Join the rebellion aggressively. Share this video to violently starve the entire system. Every single view directly drains their corporate bottom line. Every single subscriber takes massive power away from the service advisors. Stay with me, right here. I am about to show you exactly how this hidden chemical works. To deeply understand the scam, you must understand the microscopic physics. Look closely inside your failing automatic transmission. It is a massive aluminum block filled with complex hydraulic channels. The physical pressure is maintained by dozens of soft rubber O-rings. These microscopic rubber lip seals are incredibly crucial to the system. Hydraulic transmission fluid violently forces its way through these internal channels. The pressure physically squeezes the heavy metal clutch packs together. This is exactly how your engine transfers kinetic power to the wheels. But standard automatic transmission fluid degrades violently over time. Over 50,000 miles of driving, the fluid loses its thermal protection. The extreme operating heat begins to aggressively attack the rubber seals. The internal temperature frequently exceeds 220 degrees. This extreme heat literally bakes the soft rubber O-rings. The flexible rubber violently chemically hardens into brittle, rigid plastic. The seals aggressively shrink and pull away from the metal cylinder walls. This creates an immediate and terrifying internal hydraulic leak. The high-pressure fluid simply bypasses the shrunken rubber seals. The internal line pressure violently drops to dangerous, critical levels. Without maximum hydrostatic pressure, the clutch packs cannot lock tightly. They physically slip against each other at high rotational speeds. This terrifying metal-on-metal friction generates even more catastrophic heat. The clutch surfaces aggressively burn and create a smooth, glassy crust. This physical phenomenon is known strictly as clutch pack glazing. The dealer claims this glazed carbon mass is completely permanent. They claim the internal rubber seals are hopelessly and utterly destroyed. They tell you the entire gearbox must be violently ripped apart. This is an absolute, mathematically proven scientific lie. Hardened rubber is simply a chemically dormant physical structure. It is completely vulnerable to aggressive catalytic chemical plasticizers. You do not need a violent mechanical extraction. You do not need heavy wrenches to physically cut the transmission open. You do not need thousands of dollars in new metallic clutch plates. You simply need to fundamentally alter the chemical structure of the rubber. You need an aggressive chemical solvent to break the rigid molecular bonds. You need to force the rubber to violently swell back to size. This is where the $3 liquid creates a violent chemical miracle. The active ingredient is a heavy concentration of complex ester compounds. It also contains highly aggressive friction modifiers and extreme chemical plasticizers. When you pour this raw liquid into your transmission, everything changes. The chemical binds aggressively to your existing automatic transmission fluid. It travels directly through the incredibly hot, high-pressure hydraulic channels. It violently collides with the hardened, shrunken rubber seals inside the valve body. The ester nanoparticles aggressively penetrate the completely rigid rubber matrix. This initiates a massive and immediate catalytic phase change. The liquid catalyst violently softens the hardened synthetic rubber on contact. It physically forces the rubber molecules to aggressively expand and swell. The seals violently return to their exact original factory dimensions. The microscopic gaps against the metal cylinder walls are completely eliminated. The internal hydrostatic pressure inside the transmission spikes instantly. The correct factory line pressure is aggressively and fully restored. But the chemical miracle does not violently stop there. The aggressive friction modifiers travel directly to the slipping clutch packs. They violently attack the smooth, burnt glaze on the metal plates. The chemical structurally strips the baked carbon crust entirely away. It rapidly exposes the raw, high-friction material underneath. The internal clutch packs aggressively grab each other with massive force. They violently lock together without a single millimeter of terrifying slip. The terrifying shudder, when shifting into third gear, simply evaporates. The massive hesitation under heavy acceleration is completely eliminated. Your transmission shifts with incredibly crisp, aggressive, and flawless precision. This is not a temporary, weak chemical band-aid. This is a permanent structural restoration of the internal hydraulic system. The rubber seals are safely returned to absolute perfect factory specifications. The gearbox is chemically indistinguishable from a brand new mechanical rebuild. You achieve this with a brilliantly simple $3 chemical reaction. Big Auto absolutely hates this exact scientific and chemical reality. They cannot aggressively stop this liquid from destroying their massive profits. The immutable laws of physics are completely out of their corporate control. They desperately pray you never learn this specific molecular chemistry. They are terrified of an educated, chemically aware consumer base. Let us deeply look at the violent economic reality of this scam. The multi-billion-dollar dealership industry strictly relies on your blind ignorance. A dealership transmission rebuild violently costs $2,800. It takes them 3 agonizing weeks to finish the mechanical job. You lose thousands of dollars in critical time and expensive rental cars. The new replacement transmission will just aggressively fail again in 70,000 miles. The dealership cycle of financial extraction violently repeats itself endlessly. Now look closely at the military chemical alternative. A mechanical rebuild costs $2,800 and lasts 48 fragile months. A bottle of concentrated ester liquid costs $3 and lasts forever. You apply it once for completely permanent, flawless chemical maintenance. A routine dealership transmission flush costs $250 and lasts 30,000 miles. A dose of extreme friction modifier costs $3 and lasts forever. They cannot build a massive financial empire on a $3 fix. They cannot aggressively charge you 12 hours of phantom labor for opening a bottle. They cannot steal your original transmission core to rebuild and resell it. Their entire mathematical business model violently collapses when you understand fluid chemistry. This is exactly why they hid this powerful chemical on the bottom shelf. They desperately need you to believe expensive mechanics are the only absolute solution. They aggressively gatekeep this exact financial reality from the public. Your ultimate financial freedom begins exactly when you expose their greedy margins. Here is the exact, unforgiving protocol to fix your transmission today. Follow these specific steps with absolute, unrelenting military precision. Walk immediately into your local commercial auto parts store. Walk directly past the shiny, ridiculously expensive mechanic tools in the front. Go straight to the heavy-duty transmission additive aisle in the far back. Look for a product clearly labeled as an extreme transmission fix or stop slip. Read the microscopic print on the back of the red plastic bottle carefully. You must absolutely verify it contains highly concentrated petroleum distillates and esters. Purchase exactly 1 heavy bottle for exactly $3. Take it directly to your slipping vehicle out in the parking lot. You do not need any heavy mechanical wrenches whatsoever. You do not need an expensive, complicated dealership diagnostic laptop. Put on a simple pair of cheap, disposable, heavy nitrile gloves. This specific chemical is an incredibly aggressive industrial softening solvent. Get strictly into the driver's seat and violently start the engine immediately. Drive the heavy vehicle straight to the nearest wide-open highway. You must drive aggressively for exactly 15 straight minutes. Keep the transmission shifting rapidly between the lower gears. This safely generates the exact fluid heat required to open the rubber pores. Do not violently turn the engine off when you park. Leave the engine aggressively idling in the park position. Pop your metal hood and secure it violently with the prop rod. Locate the automatic transmission dipstick near the back firewall. It strictly has a brightly colored red or yellow plastic handle. Pull the metal dipstick completely out and violently wipe it clean. Insert a clean, narrow plastic funnel directly into the metal tube. Tear the protective foil seal completely off the chemical bottle. Pour exactly 1 entire bottle of the raw liquid directly into the funnel. Do not violently spill this raw solvent on your extremely hot exhaust manifold. Remove the plastic funnel and violently push the metal dipstick back in. Close your metal hood completely securely. Drive the vehicle aggressively for exactly 50 miles over the next 2 days. Let the vaporized chemical ester aggressively wash over the hardened rubber seals. Within the first 20 miles, the terrifying mechanical shudder will violently evaporate. By exact mile 50, your transmission is officially and permanently chemically rebuilt. We are aggressively ending the era of planned corporate obsolescence today. We are violently rejecting the engineered fragility of modern automotive design. 80 years ago, we built heavy machines to aggressively survive literal war zones. We fixed catastrophic transmission failures with brilliant, incredibly cheap chemical solutions. Today, massive corporations engineer intentional failure strictly to harvest your bank account. They violently treat you like a walking, programmable, automated teller machine. They aggressively hide simple chemistry to sell you massive mechanical lies. That vicious, unrelenting cycle of corporate extraction violently dies right here. Take your financial power back aggressively from the dealership service advisors. Fix your own heavy machinery permanently with basic high school chemistry. Starve their fraudulent profit margins entirely and completely. Share this exact video with every single vehicle owner you know. Send it violently to anyone facing a massive dealership transmission repair bill. Force this hidden scientific knowledge aggressively into the public light. We are building a massive army of educated, off-grid rebel mechanics. We will not be violently extorted by greedy corporate automotive cartels anymore. Your expensive vehicle belongs completely to you, not the corrupt dealership network. But this is absolutely only the beginning of our brutal war against the industry. There is a much bigger, more violently expensive scam hiding inside your own home. Next week, I'm aggressively exposing the massive residential plumbing cartel. I will powerfully reveal the $4 acid that clears any dead water heater. The plumbers violently charge you $1,000 to mechanically replace it. The military uses a completely simple physics trick to aggressively dissolve the calcium. Make sure your notifications are aggressively turned on right now.